But when I was around, I had that little bit of stroke back then.
Yeah.
I'd keep a case of beer and the boys would hit it before we go to the ring. Made the matches much better. But that was then and this is now.
When the news broke on July 24, 2025, that Hulk Hogan had passed away at the age of 71 due to cardiac arrest, the wrestling world was stunned. Hogan was not just another wrestler. He was the icon who carried WWE into the mainstream, turning wrestling into a household phenomenon during the 1980s and 90s. For decades, the red and yellow colors, the ripping of the shirt,
Most scientific move I do. It always works. Man, the Giant's heavy, man. I forgot about that. That guy was huge. God
You
bless
actually
his soul.
got him completely
Yeah.
over your head.
It's really weird. That night that I slammed him in the Pontiac Silverdome is a really cool story because the guy that was running the building, managing the Silverdome, said, "Hey, Hulkster, man."
and the booming "What you gonna do, brother?" defined what fans believed wrestling to be. But even in death, Hogan's story was far from peaceful. What should have been a moment of mourning quickly spiraled into controversy. His daughter, Brooke Hogan, stepped forward with revelations that cast an entirely new light on her father's life, career, and relationships. According to her, the official story did not match the truth. She claimed that Hogan's passing and the years leading up to it were filled with betrayals, conspiracies, and cover-ups that the public had never fully understood. These shocking allegations not only reignited old rivalries, but also sparked widespread speculation about Hogan's true place in wrestling history. Social media exploded with theories suggesting that WWE figures may have had a hand in his downfall. For the first time, Hogan's own family member was pulling back the curtain, exposing the hidden world of betrayal and bitterness that existed behind the glittering lights of the squared circle. Almost immediately after his death, conspiracy theories began flooding platforms like X and Reddit. Fans speculated that Hogan's passing was not as straightforward as reported. Some pointed to the suspicious timing, noting that Vince McMahon was already engulfed in serious legal troubles involving allegations of sex trafficking. To many, Hogan's death felt too convenient, as if silencing him removed a potential witness who knew too much. One of the most explosive theories suggested that McMahon himself might have orchestrated Hogan's demise. Though outrageous at first glance, the theory gained traction due to the history of animosity between Hogan and WWE's power brokers. Their relationship was never simple, built on mutual success, but undermined by decades of backstabbing and manipulation. Other fans connected Hogan's death to larger, more bizarre conspiracy webs. Some claimed computer hackers and mysterious cult-like groups were eliminating outspoken wrestlers, while others tied his passing to supposed rituals within WWE-linked organizations. These ideas may sound far-fetched, but they reflect something very real: a deep distrust of WWE's official narratives. Wrestling has long had a history of cover-ups, from steroid scandals to tragic locker room incidents. To many, Hogan's death felt like another chapter in that same story. Brooke Hogan's decision to speak out gave these theories credibility. Her words suggested that her father's enemies weren't just imagined. They were real, and some may have wanted him gone. Whether or not these suspicions hold weight, they reveal how Hogan's reputation was entangled in a web of mistrust that will forever shadow his legacy. Perhaps no feud highlighted Hulk Hogan's darker side more than his fallout with Jesse the Body Ventura. Ventura was more than just a flamboyant commentator and wrestler. He was a man with a vision for wrestlers' rights. In the mid-1980s, he attempted to unionize the WWF locker room, a bold move that could have changed the wrestling industry forever. Health insurance, retirement benefits, and fair pay could have become the norm. But Ventura's dream was crushed when Vince McMahon learned of the plan almost immediately. For years, Ventura suspected betrayal but could not prove it. That changed during a federal deposition in the late 1980s, when McMahon was under oath. It was revealed that Hogan had been the informant, the one who had run to Vince and sabotaged Ventura's efforts. The revelation was devastating. Ventura later admitted he would never forgive Hogan, calling him untrustworthy and dishonest. For Ventura, this wasn't just a professional slight. It was a betrayal that ruined the possibility of a better future for every wrestler who came after. Hogan's actions ensured that he remained the top star, reaping massive financial rewards while others suffered under poor working conditions. To this day, wrestlers lack many of the protections athletes in other sports enjoy. The roots of that problem trace directly back to Hogan's betrayal. For conspiracy theorists, it was evidence of a pattern. Hogan always protected himself first, no matter how many others were sacrificed along the way. Brooks' revelations have only magnified the weight of that betrayal, cementing it as one of the darkest chapters in her father's life. If Jesse Ventura represented the destruction of wrestlers' collective rights, then Bret the Hitman Hart's story symbolized the personal cost of Hogan's backstage politics. WrestleMania 9 should have been Hart's crowning moment. As champion, he had earned the spotlight, the culmination of years of hard work. But Hogan had other plans. After Hart lost to Yokozuna in the main event, Hogan marched to the ring unannounced. Using his creative control clause, he challenged Yokozuna on the spot, pinned him in seconds, and walked away with the WWF Championship. The entire sequence felt choreographed not for storytelling, but to place Hogan back on top at the expense of Hart. Backstage, Hart confronted Hogan. The plan had always been for Hogan to eventually drop the belt back to him, but Hogan flat out refused. According to Hart, Hogan looked him in the eye and said, "I'm not doing business with you." The betrayal stung deeply. Instead of passing the torch to the next generation, Hogan clung to his position, using his influence to bury Hart's momentum. For Bret, this wasn't just a lost title, it was a lost opportunity that could have defined his career differently. Hart has spoken openly about his resentment, painting Hogan as a manipulator who cared little for the growth of the company beyond his own spotlight. For fans, the incident at WrestleMania 9 remains one of the clearest examples of Hogan's willingness to put himself above the business. For Brooke Hogan to reference this in her revelations only underscores how deeply ingrained her father's reputation for selfishness truly was. Few wrestling friendships were as iconic as the bond between Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. Together, they were larger-than-life characters, the pillars of the WWF's late 80s boom. Fans adored the Mega Powers, a team that blended Hogan's showmanship with Savage's intensity. But behind the curtain, their friendship unraveled into something far darker. According to Hogan, their fallout began when Savage went through his divorce from Miss Elizabeth. Savage reportedly believed Hogan had played some role in the breakdown of his marriage, fueling paranoia and resentment. Hogan later admitted the two didn't speak for nearly 8 years. But the tension wasn't just emotional. It was physical. Scott Steiner once revealed that Savage admitted to punching Hogan before WrestleMania 9, leaving him with a black eye. Hogan claimed it was a jet ski accident, but whispers of a real fight persisted. This wasn't scripted drama. This was personal hatred spilling out of the locker room and into real life. For Savage, Hogan represented betrayal on multiple levels. A friend who may have crossed boundaries, a colleague who used politics to stay on top, and a rival whose influence poisoned the locker room. To conspiracy theorists, the Savage-Hogan rivalry is another piece of the puzzle, proof that Hogan made enemies who carried their grudges for decades. Brooke's revelations about the bitterness surrounding her father only confirmed that this feud was far from exaggerated. It was real, and it was destructive. Perhaps the most surprising piece of the Hogan puzzle involves The Undertaker, one of WWE's most respected figures. In 1991, Hogan and Undertaker clashed at Survivor Series. During the match, Hogan claimed he suffered a severe neck injury, even hinting at possible paralysis. He pointed the finger directly at Undertaker, suggesting that a botched move had caused serious harm. The problem? Video footage told a different story. Undertaker executed the move flawlessly, with no evidence of the dangerous impact Hogan described. Many believe Hogan exaggerated or fabricated the injury entirely, perhaps to manipulate sympathy or weaken a rising star who posed a threat to his top spot. For The Undertaker, the accusation could have been career-ending. At the time, he was still establishing himself, and Hogan's word carried immense weight with management and fans. Being labeled careless in the ring could have destroyed his reputation before it ever blossomed. Undertaker himself admitted the period was one of intense stress, as he was forced to defend himself against an accusation that simply wasn't true. Though Undertaker survived the ordeal and went on to become one of wrestling's most legendary figures, the incident demonstrates Hogan's willingness to jeopardize another man's livelihood to maintain his own dominance. For Brooke, recounting such episodes highlights the pattern. Her father had a history of manipulating narratives, even if it meant putting someone else's career at risk. To many fans, this revelation is chilling, because it shows that even the dead man wasn't immune to Hogan's backstage games. If there was one relationship that defined Hogan's career outside the ring, it was his partnership with Vince McMahon. Together, they turned WWE into a global powerhouse. Hogan was the face, Vince the mastermind. But behind the scenes, their relationship was volatile, a constant tug-of-war between two men who always thought they knew best. McMahon has admitted it was a love-hate dynamic. They clicked professionally, but their egos clashed repeatedly. The breaking point came in 1994 during the infamous steroid trial. Hogan testified against McMahon, securing immunity for himself while admitting to years of steroid use. Though McMahon was ultimately acquitted, the damage to their relationship was permanent. For Vince, Hogan's testimony felt like betrayal. He had built his empire around Hogan, only for his golden boy to turn on him under oath. For Hogan, the testimony may have been survival, but it deepened the perception that he always prioritized himself first. Even decades later, McMahon would downplay Hogan's significance, suggesting he wasn't as big as he thinks he is. For conspiracy theorists, this dynamic looms large. If Hogan truly knew too much about WWE's darkest secrets, would McMahon have seen him as a liability? Brooke's decision to expose this tension adds weight to the theory that her father's death was more than a coincidence. Their partnership built wrestling as we know it, but it was also poisoned by mistrust, betrayal, and resentment. Beyond his wrestling rivalries, Hulk Hogan's personal scandals created another category of enemies. The most infamous came in 2015, when leaked audio exposed him using racist slurs while discussing his daughter Brooke's relationships. The comments weren't isolated. They revealed a worldview deeply at odds with the wholesome image Hogan portrayed. The fallout was swift. WWE terminated his contract, erased him from the Hall of Fame, and sponsors cut ties. Though reinstated years later, the damage was lasting. Entire communities who once idolized Hogan now saw him as a fraud. The racism scandal was only the tip of the iceberg. Hogan's private life was filled with betrayals, including the infamous sex tape scandal involving his best friend, Bubba the Love Sponge. The betrayal cut deeply and led to one of the most famous lawsuits in media history, bankrupting Gawker Media after a $140 million judgment. Hogan's struggles with steroids and painkillers also painted a tragic picture. For years, he depended on performance-enhancing drugs and opioids, admitting to near-death experiences from fentanyl dependency. At one point, his pharmacist admitted he had never seen anyone alive on the amount Hogan was prescribed. These revelations stripped away the last layers of the Hulkamania mythos. Brooke's testimony only adds to this collapse, reminding fans that her father's legacy was not one of heroism, but of scandal, hypocrisy, and self-destruction. After years of standing by her father, Brooke Hogan finally reached her breaking point. In March 2025, she revealed shocking allegations about life inside the Hogan household. According to Brooke, her childhood was marked by verbal, emotional, and sometimes physical abuse. She described being manipulated into defending her father during his scandals, forced to act as the family's public shield while privately suffering from the very behavior she was told to excuse. Her words painted a devastating picture of exploitation. She claimed her career was sabotaged, her personal struggles were monetized, and her loyalty was systematically abused. Perhaps most painful of all was her revelation that she had gone no contact with both parents, unable to reconcile the love she once felt with the abuse she endured. The estrangement became painfully clear when WWE held tribute events after Hogan's death in July 2025. Brooke was excluded, while her brother Nick attended. To her, this wasn't just an oversight, it was a deliberate erasure, proof that even in death, her father's legacy came before his family. Their final conversation, in September 2023, was bittersweet. Hogan apologized for unspecified wrongs, and Brooke told him she loved him. But even then, his emotional distance remained, showing little interest in meeting her children. For Brooke, it was the final confirmation of a lifetime of disappointment. Hulk Hogan's story was once the ultimate American fairy tale. A working-class kid turned global superstar, adored by millions. But Brooke Hogan's revelations, combined with decades of scandals, betrayals, and conspiracies, reveal a far darker truth. Hogan's life was built on manipulation, selfishness, and hypocrisy. His enemies weren't just rivals in the ring, they were victims of his ambition. His family weren't just bystanders, they were casualties of his choices. For fans, the truth is hard to swallow. The hero of their childhood may have been the villain all along. And for Brooke, exposing the truth wasn't about revenge. It was about finally freeing herself from the shadow of Hulkamania. If this story shocked you, remember, it's only one piece of wrestling's hidden history. The betrayals, conspiracies, and scandals that shaped the industry run far deeper than most fans realize. If you want to uncover more untold stories from wrestling's dark past, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. What do you think? Was Hogan's downfall simply the result of his own choices, or did powerful forces in WWE truly conspire against him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your take. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay tuned for more revelations from the world of wrestling.